will be in the range that the Higgs boson is predicted to be in. Would it be more exciting for you for the Higgs boson to be detected or not detected?
Well, I think it's a great question. Just to amplify it, so one of the reasons for building the Large Hadron Collider was and is to find a particle that we in the community of physicists have assumed exists for the last, I don't know, 25, 30 years, if not longer. But as yet we have not found it. It's the one missing piece of the so-called standard model of particle physics. So, if it is found, it will be kind of bittersweet, I think, because it will show us that these mathematical ideas led to a correct insight about nature, and it will complete one particular chapter in our exploration of the fundamental constituents of matter. On the other hand, it'll be kind of sad, because when you close a chapter and you move on, there's this sense of departure, this sense of, it almost would be more exciting if we don't find it, because there'd be the wonderful challenge to figure out what is going on.
Don't you think for a lot of physicists the biggest nightmare in some sense is that we find it and nothing else?
Yes, for the Large Hadron Collider, absolutely. If you find exactly what you were looking for and nothing else, it's hard for you to use that as a springboard for the next step. It's
as I say, we don't want to be right. I mean, we need the guidance to tell us whether any of these ideas that are coming up in theoretical physics are actually fruitful.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest nightmare is to find absolutely nothing, because we would find that exciting, but it'd be hard to convince the powers that be.
Hey, we found nothing. Isn't that great? So. But some of the biggest experiments in the history of physics have found nothing and been very significant, although they weren't funded by the government at the time. Yes.
So I have a third grader and a sixth grader, and they're going through some standardized testing now, but it doesn't include anything on science. I was wondering, as you talk to legislators and others in the government, what is the feedback you're hearing? Because, science is really important, and I really don't see a whole lot of educational emphasis on it.
You want me? Okay. It is a problem. It is a huge problem, I think, and there are two sides to the problem. There are a lot of educators, or at least school board members, who are really afraid that our kids will learn science. I really mean that. Who are afraid that our kids will learn science and somehow lose their faith, and in fact, one of the great things that's happened this year politically is that at a federal level. We now have, the present administration has said we believe in scientific integrity and we're going to only appoint people to boards who have the proper credentials. And I've recently argued, although to deaf ears I think, that we should do the same in school boards, that people should actually have some credentials who are going to make the decisions. But the other issue that I know Brian I've talked about this, and I know Brian feels strongly about it too, is that the other problem is we tend to turn off a lot of kids from science because, for a number of reasons, one of the big problems, at least at the public school level, and it's terrifying to realize, is that in this country, in public schools, most of the middle school science teachers in this country certainly don't have degrees in science. And if you're not comfortable in teaching science, you tend to teach a bunch of facts. But as Brian, and you've talked eloquently about this, I know, it's not the facts that make science interesting. It's the process. It's the excitement. When we're talking about this or string theory or whatever, that's what gets kids excited. And it's kind of sad that we instill this rote facts or require kids to learn these things and not at the same time introduce some of the exciting things that are happening at the forefront. But I think you can only do that if you have some comfort level. If you have some comfort level to depart from the curriculum, or at least included it in the curriculum. And I think that's a problem we have, and that's why the National Academy of Sciences has argued and I firmly believe we should be not only paying teachers more, but recruiting a lot more teachers to teach science who are comfortable with teaching science, and it's only that way that we'll overcome the problem, but it's going to be very hard. I don't know whether you want to add anything else.
Yeah, that captures it well, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's all right.
Hi, you described this theory as requiring extra dimensions, and there's also been a radical effort to reconcile quantum and relativity by removing a dimension, specifically the dimension of time. Are any of these timeless models compatible with string theory, and is this an active area of research, or has it kind of been abandoned?
Well, the approach that you're referring to is one that is not as exotic as string theory. It really starts with the basic principles of quantum mechanics and applies them to Einstein's equations as best we can without really introducing anything new. And one of the features that emerges is that time does disappear from the equation, so-called Wheeler-DeWitt equation. And, you know, string theory has enough flexibility with our current understanding that it can embrace these ideas, but in no way would I say that string theory leads us to this particular way of thinking about quantum gravity or the early universe. So I'd say it's really up in the air as to how these quantum theories that involve gravity deal with time. In fact, if you were to ask me what the next major breakthrough would be, I would say it's coming to a firmer understanding of what time is in these theories, where it comes from. Is it fundamental? Is it built up from something more basic? And what does that tell us about the fundamental ingredients of the world? So that, I think, is a big frontier area.
Okay, well, I think actually, given the time, that forgive the pun, that's probably a good time to stop. And before I thank you, I just want to say, I know a lot of you, there are books being sold outside. We're not actually having book signings, and we will hope that many of the people here have written books, and we will try and get a number of them signed, pre-signed for you to buy. We meant to do that this morning, but things didn't work. But we want to really break because we want to have some time for people to have a relaxation before the exciting afternoon session. I want to thank all the speakers this morning. You made it so great. But it's true. They were all great. I do want to particularly thank Brian, not only for having the guts to trust coming out to be interviewed by me, but also there are very few people who I think I would feel comfortable enough to know that we could have such a conversation, and it would be, I hope, of interest to you. So thanks a lot, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.